Hey, beauty! This podcast is a powerful gallery of raw real life stories and the reasons that led these women to reach out to do a boudoir and glamour session. And it was created to give voice to my clients, also known as bombshells, to share their beautiful stories as means of inspiration to other women as well. We also talk about body and mind wellness for the modern women with special guests. Welcome to the Bombshell Tells All podcast. I am your host and photographer, Daisy Teixeira, America's #1 body image advocate. Hello, Bombshells. We are back. We are back with another episode of the Bombshell Tells All, the show. And today I have a very special friend here. I'm very excited and humbled that she accepted to be here interviewed on the podcast because I know her personally and her story is an inspiration. And I feel very happy that she's also sharing with others in meanings of inspiring others too. Thank you for being here, Diana.
You're welcome. I'm super excited.
That's amazing. I have met Diana back in 2015. We were introduced by a friend who I had been their wedding photographer at the time. I had the opportunity to photograph her family, and that bond started from there. We both own beer dragons as well, and we got into chats about the well-beings of our beer dragons, and of course, in so many other talks. So we kind of have been in touch with each other for quite a while now. And in 2020, Diana reached out for a boudoir session, and I got to know her even more personally after that experience. She is this beautiful woman who loves to help others and has a glow on her personality. She walks in and she brightens up the room, and I love that about her. She is very chill and fun to be with. We can carry into a conversation for hours if we are allowed to. And I'm truly amazed because of her weight loss journey. This is one of the reasons that she wanted to do a boudoir session to celebrate it. And she's going to share with us a little bit about the journey. But before we dig into this subject and many other subjects about her life, of course, I want to thank you again for being here and sharing this with us. And I would love for you, Diana, to give us a little background story about you. Like tell us a little bit about you, where you were born, where you live, or anything that you want to share with us.
Okay. I was actually born in Washington, D.C. I grew up Gaithersburg, Maryland for, I guess, the first, I think it was 5 or 6 years of my life. And then we moved to Damascus, Maryland. So I was in Montgomery County pretty much my whole life. I met my husband in 2012 and moved to Harford County, which is where I am now. Right now, I work as a pharmacy technician. I'm a certified tech through through the state of Maryland, and I've been there. I've been a pharmacy tech for a little over a year, like a year and a month, and I love it. I love working, it's kind of like healthcare, just I guess kind of like a different side of it where, not where they're coming, to get to see the doctor or whatever, but we're actually like on the other side where, they bring in their prescriptions from their doctor and they come in and they pick up their prescriptions from us. And we have a bunch of, there's a bunch of regulars that come in. Of course, usually, older people, like we have our seniors that come in and we get to know them. So there's a couple people who I see, of course, not on a daily basis, but probably at least once a month. And it's nice to get to know them and, form that bond, especially, once you get to know their faces. I mean, I remember everybody's name, but, I remember some of them because I see them so much. And I feel like it makes them feel good when they come up and you're like, hey, so and so, how are you today? And they're like, oh, you have a really good memory. So I'm like, oh, who are you? Like, especially, there's one gentleman that comes in and he usually picks up prescriptions for him and his wife. Sometimes his wife is with him, but there's sometimes where it's just him and I'm like, "Hi, Mr. So and so. Who are we picking up for today? Are we picking up for you or, your wife?" And I tell him her name and he goes, "Oh, you have a really good memory." And I was like, "Sometimes, not all the time because we see so many people throughout the day but it's nice to be able. I like helping people."
Wonderful. I'm sure they definitely feel connected and happy to come by and knowing that, somebody remembers their name. It becomes such a more personable experience for
Yeah.
them for sure. And it's such a short time of the day, but sometimes you really don't, honestly, sometimes you don't want to go to the pharmacy. You just have to go because it's part of, you have to be there, but it's not like that type of task that you look forward to go. I'm like, yes, I'm waking up this morning. I'm going to the pharmacy. No, it's not like this. So having somebody there that can brighten up their day, it's definitely helpful, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you also have mentioned that you are married and you have a son. How long have you been married for now, Diana?
So it will be so our anniversary is October 17th. So we'll be married for this October will be 6 years that we've been married. And then I have a son whose birthday is actually this coming Wednesday and he's going to be 8. It's crazy to think about. I look at him and I'm like, "How are you already 8 years old? How do I have an 8-year-old?" Like I feel like no matter how old they get, you're still like, I feel like it was just yesterday that you were like itty bitty. In fact, we were out the other day at a restaurant eating out, and one of the couples that was sitting at a table close by to us had a newborn. And my son looked at me and he goes, "Mom, was I that little?" And I was like, "Yeah, buddy, you were that little." And he was like, "Oh." It's like they can't believe, how little they actually were. Cause of course they don't remember that, but we do. And I'm like, "Yeah, you were that little." So it was really funny.
Wow, I actually can relate to that. I'm a mom of two, so I have both of my kids, and it's so I don't know if the word is heartbroken or it gives you that sense of like where's time going. I used to have this little baby, and now they're so grown up, but at the same time as well, it kind of starts becoming easier to have kids that are growing and becoming more independent. I feel like I can take them to the park and enjoy being outside with them, then enjoy the ride, they enjoy everything about it, and just spending time together. So everything is like a different phase, but we definitely miss that baby snuggles for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
And let's hope that things go back a little bit, at least to a sense of normalcy, which is completely understandable too. I mean, if we had a baby, how would we react to it? Being like having a newborn by itself without having a pandemic around, it's kind of already nerve wracking because you feel worried about a few things like, hey, the baby's too young. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this or that. And then like you add a pandemic on top of it. Well, yeah, it's kind of scary. But let's hope that things get better because, like you said, it might be even harder for the parents because they don't have the support.
Yeah.
I remember support was everything when I had a newborn, so I could at least like sleep for a little bit
Yeah.
because I didn't have a schedule anymore. So kudos for all those new parents out there today. All right. Diana, tell me a little bit about your childhood. Any fun facts you can share with us?
Probably a couple, actually. I know one that really sticks out. So I grew up in a neighborhood. We had a few kids in there that ranged from different ages, but for the most part, we were pretty close in age. And usually, Friday nights, because there was no school the next day, it was the weekends, we would come outside, not super late at night, but, of course it's summer. So, or even in the summertime when it starts to get darker later, we'd have to wait a little bit because usually the sun didn't usually go down until like 9. So, we'd ask our parents some night or sometimes on Fridays, "Hey, can we go outside? Like we're in the neighborhood, so it's not like we're really going anywhere." And we would stay pretty close. I lived in a court, so we would go down into like our court and we would gather up the kids at night and we would go play dark tag or flashlight tag and carry flashlights with us, or at least whoever was it would have the flashlight so that they could, find us. but we'd have to find places to hide around our neighborhood. And of course, we had boundaries, hey, we can't go. We have to stay, within, like, you can't go past these two houses or, these houses. We have to stay like in like this area. So we weren't walking the streets, in our we had lived in a pretty decent sized neighborhood, but it was fun. But we'd also, if it was light out or whatever, we'd play baseball in our court or kickball or hockey. We'd rollerblade, or if we didn't have rollerblades, we'd walk on our feet and play hockey. But it was fun.
That's awesome. I feel like a lot of us have the privilege to enjoy that moment, like when we actually were able to be outdoors more often and have friends in the like from the neighborhood. And I feel like this is kind of diminishing a little bit. Of course, there's still neighborhoods that will this will happen, it will happen. However, it's kind of a little bit sad that we don't see this happening as often now. Of course, things have changed. There's like a lot of more people around, and sometimes there's many other factors we have to take into consideration, such as like parents working or violence, so many other things to take into consideration. And of course, technology kind of became a little bit of that babysitter, that distraction that sometimes parents are not able to spend times with the kids, and then they're using it. It is what it is. I mean, we can't be like here parent shaming anybody. That's not the main thing, but I like that fact that you had that opportunity to play and engage with friends. And I really hope that what this is something that could become more often again these days. And let's hope for it. It's good to have a cell phone, and if that's what you have, but if not, let's give my priority for the relationships with friends around. Phone is good, but just for a moment until you get to see other people. This is something we definitely have to bring shine a light upon, even like our adult lives. Sometimes we kind of get lost into being too long into a phone, and then we forget, oh, my friend's right there, let's just pay attention on the conversation. So yeah, thank you for sharing this. It seems like it was a fun childhood.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And tell us something interesting about yourself that most people don't know.
So I don't remember when my mom taught me, but I know how to crochet. I actually probably she had taught me like a basic like crochet stitch, and I basically stuck with that for a while. And then I don't remember if I saw somebody like while we were out, like either obviously somewhere that someone would bring like their crochet stuff with them, and I think I saw them doing a different stitch that I didn't know, and so I had them show me, so then I picked that up for a little bit, and then I was actually in we used to have an AC Mora by us, but it recently closed. I think a bunch of them did, if not all of them. But I was walking through the store one day and, sometimes they have where like they sell the yarn and stuff for to crochet or knit. They used to have like little sample papers to take with you or that you could take. And it would have, of course, they never showed like actual like diagrams. It would always be, like the configurations of, do this to get this. And I'm like, okay. So I actually asked one of my friends who knows how to crochet as well. And I sent her a picture of the paper and was like, do you know what stitch this is? And she said, yeah. And so then I just ended up YouTubing it or going on YouTube. Well, I actually Googled it, but then YouTube popped up with a video of how to's. And so I learned how to do a different stitch through YouTube. So, but it's I don't do it very often, but it's very relaxing. It's good. I feel like it's good for people who have anxiety, especially like I feel like anxiety's gotten a lot worse because of the pandemic. I feel like it's been very hard for a lot of people with mental health. And I feel like being able to crochet, it's very relaxing. It takes your mind off of stuff, especially because you kind of have to concentrate on what you're doing. So it's calming. So I definitely like doing it. I don't have a lot of time to do it, but one of my coworkers is actually she's having her first baby. She's having a little boy, and I think she said she's due in July. So we're all kind of doing a little something or like having like a little not like a huge party for her at work, but like, kind of just a little something. So I was like, "I really wanna make her something." So I decided to, pick up my crochet hook and start doing it, but like I said, I always forget how calming it is and how relaxing it can be, and I love doing it. So when I have the time to,
Wow. I used to do it when I was younger, in my teens.
right?
Yes, I loved it. I
Yeah,
loved it. And I feel so sad that I actually forgot how to do it now. Of course, if you don't practice, you're going to lose that skill. But I'm glad to hear that. I might be getting some tips with you in the future.
sure.
It is something that I enjoyed so much doing as well. You just sit down, you kind of stay with your thoughts, and you kind of, especially after you get the technique, you just keep going, keep going. And it's fun to see something being created out of it. So I'm sure your coworker is going to love it, especially knowing that you took the time
Yeah.
out of your day to do something so meaningful. That's awesome. Wow. Tell us a little bit about your guilty pleasures.
Okay. So one of them is my biggest one is I like to read. I don't remember if it was right before COVID hit, but I know it wasn't super long ago, but I like to read so much and I go through books really fast. And of course I have a smartphone and I have an iPad and I had downloaded I have the iBook app because I have an iPhone. And then I also had downloaded the Kindle app, but then I felt like I was reading so much and I didn't want to put so much. I mean, I use my phone for everything else. I didn't want to like put a huge strain on it with also having books on it and reading all the time. So I actually went out and got a Kindle. I think I have what they call the paperweight, I think is what it's called. And I can't even, if I find a really good book and it's really hard to put down, I can probably finish a book in like 2 or 3 days if I have enough time to do it. So I definitely like to read. So I signed up for Kindle Unlimited because I go through books so fast. But that's probably like one of my biggest guilty pleasures is reading. I love reading. And of course, yes, I'm still working and I work the least amount of hours, like my least hours that I at least work 30 hours a week, if not more. So having downtime, it's hard, especially, with having a little one around. But I love to read. If I have time to read, I'll read. That's usually my downtime. If I don't have anything else to do, then I usually have a book in my hand and I'm reading. So,
I envy you. I do. I used to have that type of eagerness. What is the word? I don't even know how to put into words. Like, I used to have these feelings about books when I was younger. I remember like devouring books within like a week. So I was always at the library, back and forth, back and forth. And as life got busy, I was like, oh, I noticed that I stopped reading and I felt so sad about it. But at the same time, I had all these priorities that I had to take care of. And this kind of become faded on the way. And I really, really wish I could go back in there. But these days, I prefer to read. If I have to read something, I will have to do it through an audiobook. That's like when I have my quote unquote like time because I'm always like running bees and this and that. And if I'm like doing things on the kitchen or driving somewhere, that's when I'm reading pretty much. But I wish I could have like, that downtime where you really sit down and enjoy it.
yeah.
Yeah. So keep doing it. Yeah. That's awesome. And is that anything that keeps you up at night? Any sort of worries?
Sometimes, yes, especially, with my son. Like I know Daisy knows, some people might know in the group, but maybe not. Well, probably not. But my son is type 1 diabetic. In fact, he's coming up on his 2 year, I guess they call it a diaversary or something like that. But he, was diagnosed almost 2 years ago with being type 1. So there's some nights, especially when he was first diagnosed, where I didn't sleep very well because, you worry and you worry about your kids anyway. But I feel like it was just added worry and stuff. And I guess it varies from day to day on what you worry about at night. Sometimes it could be something, to do with work, just everyday living stuff going through, with the pandemic right now. Although I feel like since we've been in the pandemic for over a year now, which is crazy to think about, that worry is starting to get, at least for me anyway, I feel like it's starting to get a little bit better since we've, have been moving forward with stuff. Still worrisome because it's still out there, but at the same time, I'm one of those people that feel like we just need to get on with living and, you know, it's here, it's not going anywhere, but I feel like we just need to get back to life as best as we can.
That's correct. And I really hope that this happens as soon as possible. I mean, it is happening already. There's so much that has been changed. And moving forward, it's definitely something that all of us look forward to. Can you share with us a defining pivotal moment in your life, Diana?
Sure. So I feel like mine for me was, like Daisy had said earlier, that I had weight loss surgery. It was 2 years ago, April 4th. And it took not a lot of consideration, but I feel like, once it actually happened, like me and one of my friends actually met up and, we're talking about stuff and it came up in our discussion. And, because she was thinking about it and we kind of waited back and forth between the both of us. She had asked me, have you ever considered it? And I was like, honestly, no. Of course, it's surgery. So I feel like, with a lot of people, it's not nerve wracking, but it can be scary to think about. So I was a little scared. But, once I first started, the journey of it, and called the office of, the place that I was recommended to and the surgeon that was, recommended to me, I figured what's the harm in at least going and getting info, seeing, what's involved, if insurance would cover any of it, if it did, what insurance requirements were. And I feel like a lot of people that find out, you walk up to people, and I'm one of those people that doesn't mind talking about it or saying, I've had people walk up to me and be like, oh, you look so good. Or they'll see like old profile pictures of me on Facebook or something. And they're like, wow, you lost so much weight. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not scared to tell people, like, yeah, I had weight loss surgery. But I feel like some people are very not against it, but I feel like a lot of people think that it's the easy way out. And it's no way the easy way out. It's a tool that we're given, kind of like, I feel like the best way to describe it's almost like we're handed piece of exercise equipment or something. We still have to do the work to get to where we need to be. It's not like, we have to watch what we eat. We're on specific, it's not even a diet, it's a lifestyle change. You have to stick to it. It's not like, oh yeah, you have to eat this for so long and then you can go back to eating what you were eating before. No. It's hard. I mean, I'll be honest with you, like there's still days where I struggle with it sometimes. It's definitely better than what it was before I had surgery. But yeah, I mean, I'm before the pandemic hit, I was going to the gym probably at least 2 to 3 days a week. Pandemic hit and gyms were closed. So I feel like if I didn't work where I worked, we're a busy pharmacy where I am, and we probably fill at least 1,000 I think my one coworker said she counted, and I think she said one day we filled like 600 and some prescriptions. So we're a heavy foot traffic pharmacy, and I feel like if I wasn't working there and running around like crazy, I don't know if I would have kept my weight off during COVID or not. So it's hard though. You got to put the work in to do it. It's not just, oh, I had weight loss surgery, you can eat whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. No, nope, doesn't work like that. So it's definitely not the easy way out. It's a lot more work than what people think that it is.
And I appreciate that you are sharing this with us because I get approached by many different women, and a lot of them they are actually coming for a boudoir session because they are celebrating a weight loss as well. It's one of the reasons, and they sometimes they of course share with me how they got there. So in the cases where it has been a surgery involved, I feel that is this stigma associated with it, just like you mentioned. So I am very appreciative that you are actually sharing this. So, but tell me a little bit more about the process. So when you decided to do the surgery, what what type of work did they ask you to do? That it was like any preparation pre-surgery? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, like I said, I had to call my insurance company. All insurances are different. My insurance required that, well, a couple of requirements. So, I had to have a BMI of, I think I'd have a BMI of 40 or higher to qualify, which I did. My BMI was at a 43. I think I was almost at a 44, which is your total body mass. And so there was that was one requirement. My other requirement was that I had to go through 6 months of nutritional meetings with a nutritionist. And I don't know if all, weight loss places are this way or not, but the facility that I went through, I actually went through GBMC and their obesity management weight loss program. And they actually have a nutritionist on site, like through working with them. So, but then my surgeon and one of her other surgeons in the practice with her, it actually might have been her husband. They actually created a program called Nutri, and I think it's just through their. If you went through GBMC, you got to use it. So usually it takes 6 months, at least 6 months, to do like the beginning parts of the steps to get weight loss surgery. With Nutri, it's done in 12 weeks. So it's what I did. But even though from start to finish, because still my health insurance was still saying, I still needed those 6 months. Well, from the very beginning, from when I had like my first like initial like start with the program I went through till my last appointment. So what we did, it had taken me 5 months to do everything, to get through basically all the stuff that I did. And then, so that last month, my surgeon, who's amazing, she was like, she knows how to jump through hoops because she's dealt with insurances plenty of times and multiple different things, multiple insurance companies. And she was like, schedule this one appointment with a nutritionist here. We should be fine. We'll put it through that. You did your 6 months. We should be fine. Of course, I sat there and was like, okay, fingers crossed. Hopefully this works. Because I was, of course, really worried and anxious that, something's going to happen. This isn't going to work. Insurance is going to be a problem. And it wasn't. It went through with flying colors. I was able to get my weight loss surgery. And we actually learned, I don't know if they're there yet, but I know in June, my surgeon and her other colleague are actually picking up and leaving the practice, and they're going to Florida to open up their own, or open up, well, I guess, yeah, to open up like their own practice down there. So, but I'm still friends with her on Facebook, and I follow her on Instagram. So I know she's still there if I need her. So it's been interesting, but I'm just super glad that everything worked out. I was able to get it done. I mean, it was scary at first, but it was also something I didn't just jump right into it. Like, there were years that I was fighting back and forth that I tried. I feel like if you name it, I tried it as far as trying to lose weight, and it just wasn't happening for me. And so I decided I had gastric sleeve surgery, was the weight loss surgery that I had. And the only thing I regret was not doing it sooner.
And I can tell by, like after when you came by to look for, the session, I can tell that you had this beautiful, you were proud. You're so proud of all the work that you have done, that you have put into. And I'm proud of you about that too.
Thank you.
I have met the before and after. You are still this beautiful glowing person, but I can tell that you have done the work, and you were so happy about it. And the session was like a way of celebration.
Yeah.
Yes. And thank you for sharing that with us. I'm sure it's going to help many, many other ladies out there. They also had the same question, which is funny because I do have people coming by and asking, have you done this session with somebody that has done the surgery? I remember actually sending one of
Yeah.
those ladies to talk to you. And I appreciate that because sometimes they're not sure how it's going to be for their session. They are not sure if I will be able to pose them. And I'm like, don't worry, I have done this before, and I will send you somebody that, can give you a testimony of how it was, some like a friend that has done a session with me, and I know you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So I think just doing this podcast is also going to be helpful for them.
Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Yes. Share with us your motto or a favorite quote that you take along in your life.
So I feel like my motto right now, and actually I got this motto because, well, I mean, I kind of already had it, but I lost one of my best friends 3 years ago to ovarian cancer. And I feel like it taught me a lot. She was like the first person who I had ever lost who was, I mean, besides family, who was super close to me, she was my best friend. And I feel like, she taught me I want to say like the best motto in life, and that's to live life to the fullest, to the best that you can, because you never know, like tomorrow's never promised, which, I always knew that, but I feel like now it's even more so, especially after losing her, that, tomorrow's never guaranteed. And I've never been one, yeah, I feel like, we always have falling outs with people or stuff happens, but I've never been one to hold grudges against anybody because of that motto. Tomorrow's never promised. And I feel like if you stay mad at somebody for too long, that you might never have that chance again to at least either try to reconcile stuff or work through it. And then I feel like you're stuck with that regret for the rest of your life because they're not here to make that amends with. So, I mean, you might not ever be fully back to where you were with that person, but at least in my eyes, like you've at least tried in some way, or at least, said, hey, I'm sorry for what happened, whatever. But yeah, tomorrow's never promised. That's my motto.
Tomorrow's never promised. Yes, I feel I feel such a beautiful message right in there, because we sometimes we forget that such feelings as love, as compassion, kindness, they take us a long way. And just by keeping, if you have some sort of grunge, something that happened in between yourself and somebody, let's think about it. Like, is it worth it? Is it going to make you grow by staying mad at that person? Sometimes something so simple, but for some reason we cannot get ourselves together to think, hey, it's not worth it. There's so many other bigger problems out there.
Mm,
And this actually define who we are as well, because if we keep holding that grunge inside of us, where do you leave space for other beautiful feelings, such as happiness? I mean, you're holding space, from something that could be better, that make you be a better person. And I love that motto because I myself believe that we have to be the best we can right now. Because even though I don't know what is your belief, but in my point of view, and based on I would say my awakening experience, which I have done a podcast about that in the past, but I know that whatever you cultivate here, the person that you cultivate here is the same person that is still going to be when you're not alive anymore, when your body is not alive anymore, because we keep going.
yeah.
We just don't have a physical touching body, and that's why sometimes we think that we're not going to see each other, but we will see still each other. So can you imagine if you're like holding a grudge with somebody, and then you guys meet each other in heaven and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. And trust me, that happens a lot. So let's try to get all anything you can, at least like that is on your power, because you cannot control what other people think. But try to get it resolved while you're here, while you have the chance, because tomorrow is not promised. And anything that you don't solve here, it's going to carry on with you after life as well. And I want to talk a little bit about your experience with doing a boudoir session. I loved that you came to me to do the session. I had such a fun time, an amazing time. It was, to me, it was very special, very, very special that you trust me on that. I want to know from you, what is the takeaway from your session? So, first of all, why did you decide to do a boudoir session? What is your main reason?
I guess my main reason that I wanted to do it was because, I had lost so much weight and I wanted to do something for myself because I felt not that I didn't feel good about myself before I had surgery, but it definitely boosted my self esteem. And so I just wanted to do something fun and for me. So I decided, to contact you, and it was a lot of fun. I'm glad that I did it.
Me too. I For me it was very fun. I remember like we doing the pose together. Anytime I do this now, even more. But anytime I do this, I feel like we're doing like a girls' friends day where I'm helping and imposing you. I see people more as friends than really
Yeah.
clients, which is kind of even better because in my view, I want to also feel into that moment, and with you was actually special because we knew each other
Yeah.
way before all of that happened. So I'm so glad we did it. And what was your favorite part of the session or the experience?
My favorite part of the session, I don't know. We just had fun. Like, I know there was a couple of times where we got, the giggles like most girls do. But, when I first came in, I was, nervous about it. But once we got in there and started actually like into the photo shoot, it was, I don't want to, like, it was, to me, it was relaxing. Like you said, it was just, like us two girls just hanging out for the day and, just taking photos. It was a lot of fun. I know there was one point during my session that I don't remember what had happened, but I know me and you just started giggling, just, full on laughing. And it was a lot of fun though. So, yeah.
I think that was one of your pictures that you picked for your canvas, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I love it because you have such a beautiful and genuine smile in it. And you look at this picture and you wonder like, what is she laughing about? I don't even remember what we said at that moment. I don't remember anymore, but it was the right picture at the right time. Absolutely. And you actually picked it for your canvas. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, one of my favorites too. Okay. And now that you have officially become a bombshell after your session, tell me with your own words what the bombshell word means to you.
The word bombshell to me means beautiful inside and out.
I love that. Simple and short and very concisive, and it's just beautiful inside and out. And that's what I tell people like, all of us, we are bombshells. Just give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
Sometimes people keep holding for whatever reason. Like, don't wait on the tomorrow. You have that inside of you. By being a bombshell, it not necessarily means that you have to do a photo shoot. It is super fun. I recommend for everyone, but being a bombshell also means like enjoying life. And by enjoying, don't think like you have to go and jump out of an airplane and do like all those crazy things that might take like put your life into risk. I mean, everyone is everyone, like you're gonna do what you're gonna do, but I'm talking about enjoy the simple moments in life and be kind. Look at another woman and compliment her hair or whatever you see that kind of cuts up your eyes or smile. This is what being a bombshell is. It's like actually spreading that beauty inside of you and sharing with others. And as you know, I do have a bombshell wall here, and Diana is actually my second bombshell on the wall. And I feel so proud of her because it was right when I was finally starting to do more of the sessions. And she came out to me. I'm like, I want to do your picture. I want to do like the bombshell wall picture. And I'm glad that I have started right at that moment when you walked in here because I was already doing sessions before, but I wasn't like taking those. But now I have you on my wall. So every time I walk there, I'm like, yes, that's my girl.
Yeah.
Amazing. And what was your number one takeaway from that experience? I would say like your self-confidence, self-worth, self-image. What would you take like as the highlight of that session?
Definitely my self-confidence. Not that I didn't have it before coming in, but I feel like it definitely helped boost it a little bit more. I mean, from as far as I can remember, back from, being not super young, but probably like hitting adolescence as a girl, my self-confidence wasn't always the greatest. So, but I feel like doing something like this definitely.
And I feel as you are ready to, sometimes we need to go through all those phases in our lives. We are not born a confident person. It's something that builds up within our experiences, with everything that happens around us, even like by seeing other women. That's how we build our confidence. And I can tell pretty much a lot of teenagers sometimes they don't have that just from the beginning, but when you feel ready, that's when you have to take the step. Sometimes that's why I ask a question for everyone that comes to look for a session with me. I ask, what would you like to do a session? Because I want to understand the reasons and see if I can definitely help them or not, because some people are just not ready.
Yeah.
So, okay. In a few words, if you could go back and talk to your past self, what advice would you give yourself?
Probably to follow my gut instincts. I've definitely learned, for the most part, your gut usually isn't wrong. It might be, but it's usually my motto right now is just to follow your gut. Usually gives you, for the most part, usually pretty spot on.
Probably because you listen to your guts, you kind of become more strong on that sense. So sometimes this is important to mention here, because sometimes you don't listen to it, and then you learn the hard way that you should have listened, and you start kind of becoming a little bit scared of even thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. No, but if you actually do this constantly, it kind of it's like a spider sense. It starts becoming stronger and stronger. I like that advice. And as we walk towards the end of our interview, as you know, we have the crown forward question. So I had my previous guest, Bailey, asking you a question. And what Bailey wants to know from you, what do you love most about yourself?
Probably just how far I've come within, I want to say, how far I've come in the past 2 years plus some. I feel like, over the years, I've grown a lot. And I don't want to say like I've learned not to care so much. That's not me. I'm a very caring person, but I guess I try not, I mean, I still stress out, but I try not to stress out over, especially stuff that I don't necessarily have control over. I try not to. So, yeah.
Okay, it's a journey. And as long as you are watching the ride and learning from it, that's all it's what makes it worth it, because you look at your past self and you see that little girl that used to be scared of things and wasn't confident enough and couldn't speak up for herself, and now you see like this beautiful woman that wish that could carry this little girl and tell her, you'll be okay,
Yeah.
you'll be fine. So it's a beautiful journey, and we have to enjoy that ride in there. So I'm proud of you too, just know that.
Thank you.
All right, Diana, now it's your turn. What would you like to know for our future bombshell that will be interviewed?
What is your greatest achievement in your life so far?
I love that. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so I'll be making sure to be asking that question forward. And I would love to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this beautiful interview and sharing your life story, which is very, very inspiring. And I know we're going to see each other very soon again. And I'm very excited for that. And other than that, do you have any considerations, anything you want to say before we finish?
Not really. Just, thank you for having me and for the opportunity and being such a joy to work with during the photo shoot. You made it very easy and very comfortable, and it was a lot of fun.
I appreciate. I'm the one that who feels honored here. Thank you so much. All right, bombshells. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again in the next episode of the Bombshell Tells All, the show. Stay happy and stay safe. Ladies, thank you for listening to today's podcast. Please don't forget to share the positivity and love with your friends by subscribing and sharing this message so we can continue producing more content for you. And remember, self-love starts within. I am your host and photographer, Daisy Teixeira, with the Bombshell Tells All, the show.